Hey friends, my name is Becca and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time with us, I'm so glad that you are here. We focus on all things middle grade literature, specifically the first chapters of your favorite middle grade novels. So if you love to read and you love middle grade literature in particular, you found your home. Today I'm going to be sharing the first chapter of The Night War. This book is written by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. She is actually a two-time Newbery winning author and has a whole series of World War II topicked novels, including The War That Saved My Life, which was a #1 New York Times bestseller and a Newbery Honor book, as well as The War I Finally Won. So I am super excited to read this novel with you. I personally love historical fiction. I always learn a little something when I read a historical fiction book that I didn't know, and hope that you enjoy this one. So I'm going to start by reading the excerpt on the front and side cover, which will give us a little bit of an idea what this book is going to be about. We don't choose how we feel, but we choose how we act. It's 1942, and 12-year-old Miriam, who is Jewish, is not safe. With help and quick thinking, Miri is saved from the roundup that takes her entire Jewish neighborhood. She escapes Paris, landing in a small French village, where the spires of the famous Chateau de Chenonceau rise high into the sky, its bridge across the River Cher like a promise, a fairy tale. But Miri's life is no fairy tale. Her parents are gone. Maybe alive, maybe not. When she's taken in at the boarding school near the chateau, Miri must pretend to be Catholic to escape Nazi capture. One night, she is called upon to undertake a deadly task, one that spans the castle grounds, its bridge, and the very border to freedom. Here is her chance to escape, to find her parents. But will she take it? One thing is certain. The person Miri meets that night will save her life, and the person Miri becomes that night could save the lives of many more. In her return to the era of the War That Saved My Life and The War I Finally Won, Kimberly Brubaker Bradley brings a new and different story, one with a mystical twist, exploring a little-known slice of World War II history, a highly unusual friendship, and the power of choosing courage, even when, especially when, there are no good choices to be had. You always know you're in for a treat when you get the goosebumps just from reading the synopsis. So let's dive right on in to chapter 1, which is titled July 10th, 1942, Paris, France. I could hear sirens. Sirens meant trouble. Nothing to worry about, Miri, Mama said in her usual soft Yiddish. She didn't look up from mending the pocket of my other dress. You don't know that, I said. Her eyes flicked toward me. It's a fire engine, not a police sedan. You can tell the difference? I can. I knew she meant to reassure me, but I didn't quite believe her. To me, the two sounded the same. Ever since Monsieur Rosenbaum had been taken away, nearly 2 years ago now, the sound of sirens made my stomach hurt and my vision swim. Mama thought she understood. I let her think she did. Now I took a deep breath, released it slowly. Far below, the sirens continued. I'm going up, I said. My mother pressed her lips together. Papa insisted she let me climb onto the roof, but she hated it when I did. Our apartment was on the 6th floor of our building, so if I did fall, I would splatter. But I never feared falling. The roof was the only place in Paris I felt safe. Nothing could touch me there. I moved our red geranium in its clay pot away from the window. I stretched one foot onto the top of the metal grill that kept things from falling out our window, grabbed the window frame, and heaved myself up so I was standing on the grill. From there, it was easy to scramble up the slate tiles, still cool in the morning sun. Our window was a dormer on the top floor. It had its own little roof like a hat. I straddled the hat with my legs and let my head and shoulders rest against the main roof. I turned my face to the blue summer sky. Sirens still wailed, but I could breathe easier now. It had been my fault the Nazis took Monsieur Rosenbaum away. No one else knew that. I didn't have the courage to confess it, not even to my mother. It happened not long after the Germans invaded Paris in the summer of 1940 when I was 10. I'd been walking through the crowded streets of our neighborhood, the Pletzel, on my way home from school when I saw our neighbor, Monsieur Rosenbaum, standing in front of 2 German soldiers on the sidewalk just ahead of me. Monsieur Rosenbaum was talking to them, though I couldn't hear his words. Suddenly, the soldier with a darker mustache grabbed Monsieur Rosenbaum by one arm. With his other fist, he punched Monsieur Rosenbaum in the face. Monsieur Rosenbaum's head snapped back. Blood sprayed from his nose. I screamed. I ran forward and threw myself between him and the soldier. The soldier pushed me sideways hard. I fell to the pavement, scraping my knee and biting the inside of my cheek. The other soldier looked down at me and said, "Is this your father, little girl?" I looked up at the 3 men. I tasted blood inside my mouth. My arms and legs, my entire body froze. Only my head could move, and I shook it to say no. I shook my head. Well then, the first soldier kicked me aside. He and the other soldier shoved Monsieur Rosenbaum into the back of a police van parked on the street. The van drove away, siren blaring. We hadn't seen Monsieur Rosenbaum since. I should have said yes. He was my father. I should have jumped to my feet. I should have fought them. I should have done anything but what I had done. I ran home breathless and threw up in the toilet at the end of our hall. Mom tucked me into her bed and I lay with my face against the wall weeping. Before I could bring myself to tell my parents what had happened, neighbors were pounding on our door with the news. Mama thought it was a coincidence that I was sick. I never told her otherwise. I never confessed my shame. Monsieur Rosenbaum ended up in a prison factory in Germany. He'd been able to send 2 letters home. Every time I heard sirens, my heart raced. I thought I would vomit all over again. Sometimes I did. "Miri," my mother called through the open window. Mama thought my fear of the police came from the Kristallnacht, the night that caused us to flee Berlin. But there'd been no sirens then, even though our house caught fire. The German government had started the riot. They didn't come to the rescue. "Miri," Mom called again. "Please come down. Nora's here asking for you." I sat up. Nora was Madame and Monsieur Rosenbaum's little girl. She had just turned 2 years old. She'd been a tiny baby when Monsieur Rosenbaum was arrested. I had loved her since the moment she was born. I climbed down from the roof more carefully than I'd gone up. "Gut Morgen, Miriam," said Madame Rosenbaum. That was Yiddish for good morning. "Gut Morgen, Miri." Nora toddled across the floor and held her skinny arms out to me. I propped the red geranium back onto the grill, out of Nora's reach, and swooped her into my arms. "Dites bonjour," I said to her. "Say good morning," in French. Nora laughed. "Fromage." She said instead, "cheese." "Fromage," I said, tickling her. "You're the fromage. Fromage, fromage." Nora howled. "Fromage!" she shrieked. "Fromage!" I shrieked. Madame Rosenbaum rolled her eyes with a slight smile. I'm waiting for her to forget that. Fromage, domage, not such a difference. She spoke Yiddish, except for the 2 rhyming French words. Fromage means cheese. Domage means too bad. When Madame Rosenbaum confused the 2 a week ago, Nora had burst out laughing. "She won't forget," I said. "It's too funny." Madame Rosenbaum said, "And she'll have you to remind her." True, I grinned. Fromage, Nora said happily. She leaned her head against my shoulder and tucked the 2 middle fingers of her left hand into her mouth. I spoke French fluently, unlike my mother and Madame Rosenbaum. Papa had been a language teacher in Germany, and he'd taught me French from when I was a baby. Even if that hadn't been true, all my school classes were taught in French. Almost everyone living in the Pletzel was Jewish. Many of us, like my parents and I, were recent immigrants, and the adults tended to speak the language of whatever country they came from. Mama and Madame Rosenbaum had learned some French, but mostly spoke Yiddish, or German, as well, of course, as Hebrew, the Jewish language of prayer. Gut Shabbos, Madame Rosenbaum said to me now. I smiled. Gut Shabbos, I said back. It was Friday, so Shabbos, the Jewish holy day, began at sundown. In happy anticipation, we said Gut Shabbos, Yiddish for Good Shabbos, all Friday long. Mama said, Madame Rosenbaum is tired, Miri, and Nora needs an early nap. Will you do their marketing as well as ours? I said. I didn't want to go out on the street, and my mother knew it. If you do the marketing, I said, I'll clean the apartment for Shabbos, both apartments. Madame Rosenbaum and Nora lived next door to us. Monsieur Rosenbaum, too, before. Mama spread her arms. 1 room apiece, Miri, she said. There's almost nothing to clean. In Germany, our house had 3 bedrooms, a lovely parlor, and a bright garden that edged up against a little woods. We'd had green space and beautiful things. Nora pointed toward the cupboard. Hungry, she said. Eat? My mother got up quickly. How could I forget? We have a treat for you, Nora Habibi. She opened our cupboard and took out a small, paper-wrapped lump sitting beside a half loaf of stale bread. She said to Madame Rosenbaum, My husband taught a language lesson at a cafe last night. He ordered tea, and this came with it. We saved it for Nora. Madame Rosenbaum unwrapped a small slice of lemon. Oh, she caught her breath. Nora had been sick most of the winter. Her cough lingered for months, and while she was talking and walking, she wasn't growing as well as she should. The doctor said she needed more good food, more vegetables, more fruit. This hungry summer, there was only less of everything. Most of the food grown by French farmers was being shipped to Germany to feed our enemies. All the French were hungry. We almost never saw fruit in the marketplace, and when we did, we didn't have money enough to buy it. Mama heated water and poured it over the lemon slice in a cup. She mashed the lemon with a spoon and stirred as much goodness as she could into the water. I sat down at the table and put Nora on my lap. When Mama handed me the cup, I held it to Nora's lips. Yum, I said. Drink up. Nora wrinkled her nose above the cup's rim. Fromage? Citron, I said, telling her the French word for lemon. I thought how fresh and good it would taste. My stomach rumbled. We ate breakfast when we could, but I hadn't today. Nora smiled at me and drank the lemon water down. Go on, Miri, Mama said, taking Nora and handing me our ration books and some money. Vern Heldish, be brave. Remember the baker, he doesn't bite. That is the end of chapter 1, The Night War by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. Really looking forward to reading the rest of this novel and hearing more about Miriam's journey. If you enjoyed this first chapter Friday Read Aloud, please consider liking and subscribing so you can be notified every time we have a new First Chapter Friday available for you. Until next time, friends, happy reading.